We're joined by James. Women love him, men want to drive his wheelchair. How are you doing, James?
I certainly do. How are you doing, mate? I'm all right. I'm not too bad.
I'm all right.
Um, yeah, plodding on.
What have you been up to?
Well, I've not been seeing any women, so you know, everyone's daughter's safe. Uh, yeah, I've just been plodding along, working. You know what I mean? Yeah, listening to all the shite that's going on in the world, which we're going to discuss.
James,
Yeah,
James, you know when you're out there on the town at night, you know what I feel
yeah.
like doing on my channel? I feel like putting a video out that says, "Lock up your daughters, lock up your granddaughters, your
I don't.
godchildren, your aunties, your cousins, your mothers." James is about in his remapped wheelchair. Pop, pop, bang.
As long as they're not sourced from Barnsley, who are a bit
Oh, you're not
clingy.
stood up on that trog from Barnsley, are you?
I'm not, but it gives them something to talk about, doesn't it? They enjoy it. They like talking about it.
Some nice looking birds in Barnsley, mate, let me tell you. Some little darlings.
You have to introduce me, mate. I'll have to come down as your guest, and you can we can go on the pool together. I'll teach you. Well, I can't teach you some of my tricks. You're taking, aren't you? Sorry, Mrs. Porky.
Mr. My Love Life's about as exciting as a wet fart at the moment. Right, James. I've just had to pour a large one.
Hmm.
I've just had Anthony on. Trying to draw me into roasting the Cobra. Obviously, he's. I'm just going to hand it over to you, James. What happened in the Cobra interview with
Well,
Russia?
I know about roasting. I'm quite surprised that you rushed. You know, I thought you was gonna go heavier than you did. Now I can
I've
understand
just
maybe
gone
why
heavy.
you
I've just
didn't.
gone heavy in the Anthony one. Eh,
However,
yeah, well, yeah, because people keep sending me screenshots, comments, blah
yeah,
blah blah. Look, when all said and done, right? I mean, whatever I say, I'm damned if I don't, damned if I don't. We don't know if we got half an hour out of Crusher Ben, but they told him to cut it down to 13, do we? Why would you go to all
mm.
that trouble with a production team, a cameraman, and all that editing stuff and that for 13 minutes? I'd have thought he'd have got a bit longer than that. I think it would cut down, but until he comes out and says something, Carl, we can't. I don't know,
You
but
see,
for me, it's his channel, and he should be able to put out what he wants on there, and we haven't seen it, so he's got to be pulled about it, and it's
I
constructive.
know, mate. I know, but the ice had broken, and I was expecting you to grab his legs and drag him under, and you didn't. I understand why you didn't, maybe, but
What's wrong
we
about
were.
why I didn't? What do you want me to do? Come on here and say he's a CUNT? He's had the
No, 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 of course
opportunity to
not.
interview him, James, right?
Yeah,
He's had the opportunity to interview Crusher Ben. I'm not Carl Froch's PR. Yeah, I've shouted it from the rafters. On the strength of my own, but only a few. I think I've mentioned this before. At my own time, after he beat Bute, I
yeah,
went to cabinet honours committee at cabinet, and I applied for him to have an MBE. I nominated him, and
yeah,
only me and his mum Carol knew about that. Vernon Coker, the MP for Nottingham. He gave
yeah,
me the letter. His doctor did. Who else were there? Barry Hearn, Jeff Powell, Barry McGuigan, and another one. I forget who it were now because we're filming, but it'll come to me. And I put it all in, and then 3 years later he got his MBE, didn't he? But we weren't allowed to tell anybody.
no,
So, and I think he deserved that, Carl. But he wouldn't.
yeah,
He
I
would never.
do.
Hang on a minute, because you keep fucking butting in. You've been doing it a year now. He never got his flowers right, Carl, because of the recession and all that. He never got his just dues, and we both agree on that, don't we?
Yeah, certainly.
Now we're like, do you know what? Bute, 30 and 0, 24 knocked out. Everybody frightened to death of him. Ward didn't want to go near him because Bute were going to fight the winner, Ward and Froch. And Ward went, no, fight Froch first because we've done all the heavy lifting, then I'll fight you. Froch knacked him, and then he never fought Froch in a rematch. So, and I thought he needs his flowers, Carl. So if I played a small little part in helping him get the MBE, I'm quite proud of that. But the others that backed Barry Earn, Jeff Powell, McGuigan, Vernon Coker. his local doctor and all that were brilliant. And me and his mum had to keep it between ourselves for over 3 years. But I'm proud of him, and I also used to tell Carl, "You're going to get in Hall of Fame, Carl." And he was like, "Oh, he didn't really." I said, "Yeah, you mind? Go and have a look at your CV. Go and have a look at the guys he's done and who they fought. Pascal was still a world champion, wasn't he, 15 years later? Taylor was
Yeah.
still a world champion 6 years later. There were no cream puffs on there, were there?
No.
No
No,
goat
there wasn't.
herders like Carl Zaggy or lorry drivers like Tucker Pudwell or Emger McKirchen or Branko Sobot, a goat herder from Armenia. It was Jermaine Taylor. It were hardcore all the way through, wasn't it? This
Yeah,
CV.
well,
Nobody's going to forget about him. But why would you start your channel off as this big way for the hardcores and we tell it as we see it, and then you lose your arse in Turkey interview regarding the national anthem, Ben Whittaker regarding quitting, and then the third Porky strike and out, and I mean out, is the Crusher Ben one that we've waited for all this time. So
yeah.
how can I be around something like that? I can't, can I? That's not for
No,
me.
no,
That's not for me.
no.
It's man in the mirror moment. That's not somebody who can sit in my company or get through that door there for a cup of tea with me. No way. No way,
He
Pedro.
knows.
So I am devastated. Yeah, he'll probably know. He'll look
He
in
knows
the mirror
because
and he'll look at all them comments. Have you seen? He must be so far removed out of the fucking bubble of life to realise that I've got this wrong. I've got it wrong.
yeah.
He's got to be devastated. Absolutely devastated. I know he will be. I know he will be. He should be
Yeah.
embarrassed. He should be embarrassed. So how can anybody take him serious now? We
Well,
can't, can we?
no, we can't. And I suppose what you've just said there, you've quantified because you didn't rant and rave. I was expecting you to rant and
Yeah,
rave.
but I've been up
You
all
know,
night, mate. I was in a calm mood.
yeah. Well, you were very respectful, and I can see that it's as much as
You should see my inbox, mate. I'm the one who gets abused. See, I'm not his fucking PR. Yeah, I've bigged him
no,
up for
no,
years,
but he's
mate.
been
Listen, mate. Do you know when I started bigging Cobra up? Let me tell you this. He fought for a British title 20 foot away from where I'm sat. And he absolutely poleaxed that Damon Hague for British title in the defence of his Commonwealth. Absolutely poleaxed it. Went and grabbed microphone and said, "Joe Calzaghe, if you're going to fight me, you better train hard because you see what you're going to get." And I was stood in earshot and I'm like, wow. And let me tell
yeah,
you this, when he hit that Damon Hague in them yellow Cleo Raiders gloves, the crack on it, I've only ever heard that one more time. And it was Derry Matthews when he did Tommy Coyle. Super Tommy Coyle. He did
mhm,
it, and that's the only ever time I've heard that. And that's what you pay to go for. And I was like, wow, it meant hair stand on my end. And I thought,
yeah,
whoa, I'm behind this kid. But I was already behind him anyway from his debut. Him and Davey Day, I followed them. But that Damon Hague fight, that's when I went, he's the fucking real deal, him. And Joe Calzaghe did his best to stay away from him, let me tell you. I'm telling you
he
now.
did.
I'm telling you now. But his media skills leave a lot to be fucking desired.
Yeah. Well, what I took from when you did like speak about it, I can see in your eyes that it's sort of like a friend that sort of let you down a little bit,
Let me
maybe.
down. This fucking listen, man. Obviously, I know. I'm not going to go into detail, but I know his opinion and what he thinks about drug cheats. So,
Yeah.
when you get a
Well,
drug cheat who's failed 2 dope tests and he's sat in front of you and you can't even mention it,
and
well,
you're talking about his
how
tattoos.
can that guy be took serious?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, he knows because if you go on that video and you look at all the comments, all the ones that are saying you're a disappointment, Porky's coming to get you, and all that, he's completely ignored them.
You
He's
know,
loved other.
people putting stuff like that coming to get him. He slapped me with one hand and put me on move.
No, I know that. I know that, but holding him accountable. That's what it's all about. That's what this channel's about, holding the bullshit accountable. So I'm disappointed in him. I've unsubscribed, not that he cares.
I'm not
But I
pissed off.
just
I've
think,
got 2 fucking vapes up though.
yeah, exactly.
I'm
So,
not stressed
you
out.
know, It was very disappointing. It was very disappointing. And I think as a collective, the commission, everyone in the comments and all that, hopefully we can hold him accountable for that. Hopefully he does come out and restore some of his integrity because I think it was lost the other day.
Well,
To
James,
be fair,
what can he say to get out of this mess? All he could say is, well, it was something to do with Matchroom and blah blah blah, and they didn't want this asking, they didn't want that asking. He'd dig his head in an even further hole. But you've got to understand, Froch on Fighting is his channel in his name. See where I'm coming from?
he should stop using your catchphrases then, shouldn't he?
Well, I don't
He should
mind.
stop using your shtick because you're not getting anything from that, are you?
I'm all right. I don't. Focus Corner just keep pays for
I'm
itself. There's
speaking.
no profit
I'm
in it.
speaking for myself. Well, I'm speaking for myself, Russ.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I
I
mean?
understand. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, if people want to nick my one-liners, let them nick them. There's more than him that's nicking. But yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but I'm not really bothered about that. I'm more bothered about the fact that he's had loads of stick, and he'll be devastated. He's been set up, hasn't he, by them? They've set him up, haven't they?
Well, no,
What they've
he
done.
chose to. No, he chose to take it. At the end of the
Oh,
day, you get a phone call from the Saudis. You can always say no. He chose to take it. No one set him up. He's walked through that door. Unless they've threatened him. Do you know what I mean? Turkey threatens to cut your hands off, then you walk. You walk forward.
we've
But
got a
yeah,
man
he's
here with a
decided.
tea towel on his fucking head dictating what's going on in the sport. It's not good. It's
No,
not good at
no.
all. It's not good at all. The human rights issues over there are massive. That's why I don't ever want to go over there. And they couldn't, £1 million couldn't get me over there. I don't go over there now. I come back looking like that. Well, look at that. Who
I'll
is
be
it over
teaching.
there? That journalist, we never found again, were he?
Because Shoggy, yeah, yeah, you'll come back and I'll have to teach you how to use a remat wheelchair.
Yeah.
Be driving around
We could
Barnsley
have a
together.
we could have a wheelchair off in car park at Aldi, couldn't we?
We could. Definitely. Yeah. So,
Uh, Go on.
sorry to come across like I was having a go there, Russ. I don't know. But the
What did you
points
want
you
me to
make,
do? Come on here and start slating somebody who's been my pal 18 years, slagging him off to death and this and that over a fucking bit of a boxing interview? No.
no,
Every bit. I'm disappointed. Very, 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 very disappointed that somebody who's a multi-millionaire and don't really need to have a pundit job or don't really need to fight Jake Paul or whatever fight if he's trying to get a fight. He doesn't need any of that. He doesn't need anything off this lot. Your
no,
Turkeys or your Eddie Hills. He doesn't need anything off them. The
exactly.
channel's thriving and doing fantastic. And then you get the access, and then you're a free strike and out jobber. You get
Well,
three
that's
big
why I'm
interviews.
disappointed.
The three
Yeah.
big interviews he's had, and it's not happened.
Yeah.
So how can he be took seriously in my world? This is my world. This YouTube. I'm involved in YouTube. Me, seven and a
Yeah.
half, nearly 8 year. Me. So how can he be in my world with the concept of his channel? How he set his stall out? How can he be in my world and get all my pokey one-liners and we tell it straight, fraction fighting and all that, and then fold like a deck chair?
Well, that's my point. I tell you what, though, it'll happen. It won't necessarily be Carl Froch. Somebody will hold Conor Benn accountable. But I'm telling you, it's after Eubank smashes him. That's the only time he's going to be held accountable because they don't need him then. They don't need the Ben name. So as soon as he gets smashed, suddenly questions are going to be asked.
James,
Not.
do you know with all this that's been going on here, this Conor Benn knackers,
Hmm,
right, for these last 3 years since April, 3 years ago, his last welterweight fight, he's obviously for 3 years, he's been a light middleweight, hasn't he?
of
So
course,
he's
yes.
only had two fights in that period. How can I'm seeing a karma here. I think we could end up with somebody on slab here, and I think it could be Crusher Ben. Touch wood it in, but if
Hmm,
it is, something's going to happen here, karma's. Something's got to give here with this because we've got greed. We never saw Carl ask him about if he's suing the laboratory, who did the testing. We never saw Carl ask about if Connor and Callum Sauerland and Eddie Hills and all them, and even Eubank who were on it at the beginning. He don't come out and it's smelling of roses because he were all for nobody getting to know about this dope test as long as he got his payday. He wanted Eubank.
Yep.
So,
Cool.
so they were all in on it. Two fighters, two promoters, right? And TV as well. So they're all in on it, and they all tried to hush it up. So how can Carl not ask Crusher about them fans that paid for them weekend hotels in London, and they all had to go down there to London, but there were no boxing on, so they did a bit of sightseeing. What about them fans? What about them? Nothing were mentioned about that. Nothing were mentioned about, well, a basic question is, Connor, how did Cloverfield get in your system? Could you explain to boxing fans? A very simple question that we didn't get. So why didn't we get that? Why? Because if it had been Jarrell fucking Miller, they'd have been on him like a rash, wouldn't they, up Povetkin? So why
No,
not
they wouldn't have been.
Crutcher? Is it because Tony Sims were in Froch's corner for the full 35 fights of his career? Or is it because Froch wants to be back in with Eddie Hills? Or is Eddie promising him something behind the scenes? What's going on there? Because Bricktop don't want him at the zone. Eddie might say he does, but there's no job at the zone for him. I don't know where he's got it. The people are talking about it online, aren't they? There's
He
no
doesn't need
no
it.
crumbs at the zone for him. He don't get on with Joshua. He don't get on with Bricktop. So forget the zone.
Mhm.
So why would you get that interview and not put it on him? Or if you did put it on him, why has it been edited out? We need to hear it. That's all we need. That's all we need. We're talking about a guy here who's an Hall of Famer. Are you going to have Ray Leonard running around now with a camera? Hey? Oh, are you going to get Lennox Lewis? And this
Yeah.
keeps saying it's Lennox Lewis or Froch who are best fighters since year 2000, aren't they? And Nazim Ahmed. What are they running around
No.
with cameras? No, they're not, are they? And if they were, they'd be putting it on them. So what's gone on here for him to get the biggest interview of the year on the biggest growing, fastest channel and not say a fucking word? I want to know.
Well, I mean, I've already said I just think it's a case of greed, personally, because he don't need the money. Either he's been threatened or he's just greedy, and he's been given a little sweetener that we're not aware of. That's what I think's happened. Very very disappointing. But as soon as Conor Benn gets smashed, we'll find out the truth. Heard it
Yeah,
here
well,
first.
like I said to you, and I'll say it again, is Conor Benn suing the lab that tested his thing and contaminated it? Because we're trying to figure out now how Conor Benn's innocent. He ain't innocent. They've drowned him out and wore him out with legal letters, like Fury did. Tyson Fury did the same thing. He wore them all out. They wore them out because they only got so
Yep.
much. And these fighters are earning millions of pounds, so they can afford to get stuck in. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, they tried to keep the first one hush until the second one come out. They looked like they were home free, didn't it?
He's an absolute prat though, because he goes on like I've said this before. He goes on, oh, I've been cleared. I've been cleared 3 times. Right. Well, one of those times, the WBC, you didn't agree with what they come out and said, so you can't then use the WBC as some sort of pseudo defense because you didn't actually agree with what they were saying in the first place. Remain consistent, you silly bastard.
You see,
I'd
I'm
love to get.
disappointed, me, James, because I had Froch down as very staunch and a man's man. You know, like these people who you meet over the years in boxing, not mentioning no names, but their words are made of fucking oak.
Mm,
Yeah, I've seen them all in Dennis's office when they shuffle in with the walking sticks and they've got these words made of oak. And then I said, well, how come you're working with so and so? Going, well, I've got to do best for my fighter. See,
yeah,
there's no such thing as word made of oak in boxing. It's made of green, not fucking oak.
exactly.
But after Froch said to Sky, no, I'm not wearing a Black Lives Matter badge. I'm wearing All Lives Matter. They didn't renew his contract. I thought, wow, well done there, staunch. And a good number at Sky, staunch. And I thought, he's a put it on Crusher Ben. Didn't happen. Very, very, very disappointed. But what can we do? Listen, do you want to go on to part two? We'll wrap this one up now because it's a boring story now, way back east. All
Yeah,
right.
no props. I'll see you in a bit. Bye, mate.
I'll see you on part two, James, in 1 minute. All right, pop, pop, bang. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. We like to keep it to the bone, close to the bone on here, don't we? But Cobra, got my number off Joe G, my new number. Give me a ring if there's a problem. If you don't ring, there ain't a problem. But I'll tell it straight, don't you, if you do ring. Pop, pop, bang.